Hi guys, hi, hello, happy Monday. What we got going on today is we're in the last week of our Unit 4. So we're going to just pick up where we left off with the Civil War between, again, the nationalists and the communists in China. We're going to see how things play out after World War II, which is the interrupter in that fight, again, ends, and how things move forward. As you all know, or at least I would assume you know, China is to this day a form of communist nation. So communism wins in this civil fight, that's for sure. So we'll talk a little bit how that plays out. We'll talk about how things change as, again, a new regime comes underway, and then I'll give you guys the work to be completed for this particular week. So notebooks out. Let's talk New China. So when World War II goes, all right, the war continues. It reignites. Chiang is going to try and build up the nation. He's committed to Sun Yat-sen's plans for a republic. He wanted to take them into a time period where they could teach and train citizens in the ways of democracy, to get people sort of, again, believing in those ideals, believing in this approach. Unfortunately, again, Chiang and the nationalists don't do a good job of appealing to everyone and getting everyone treated in a similar way. There's this really strict class divide that had developed, with rural peasants who make up 80% of the population, and then the westernized urban middle class that'll take up kind of the left, the rest of them. They put together this interesting approach trying to appeal to them, the rural peasant class, this new life movement, which promotes traditional Confucian ethics, rejects excessiveness and the greed of Westerners, trying to distance themselves, but they've done a lot of damage. The reforms themselves, again, produce very limited progress. And the other problem with the Nationalist Party and Chiang was that they were not great at negotiating and being diplomatic. When people spoke out against them, when, again, they wanted to try and push back or ask questions, Chiang and the nationalists very much oppressed the people, limited their freedoms to censors, to limit or say that they cannot. It was not a good time. Again, the nationalists were kind of messing it up, and it allowed for the communists to officially defeat the nationalists. This happens in 1949, so approximately 4 years after World War II ends, and the civil war between the nationalists and the communists had picked up again. We're seeing that the communists officially defeated them in that year, and they set up the People's Republic of China, which is what China is officially known as to this day. As the communists take control of the again, country of China, they're going to make steps to try and move it towards a socialist society where everyone is equal and everyone has a role, again, a say in how things play out. The first step is to redistribute the land so that everyone has land overall. Excuse me. Once land has been redistributed and the nation itself has kind of settled into this routine, Mao Zedong, who is the leader of the Communist Party and will be the leader of China in this new age here, is going to propose a plan. Okay, this plan is called the Great Leap Forward. This Great Leap Forward, if you're trying to compare this communist revolution to the Russian communist revolution, this is kind of similar to the 5-year plan that Stalin put together. It's meant to kind of stimulate economic growth. One aspect of it is collectivization, which, again, Stalin also did, referring to them as communes. So the redistribution of land meant that no one owned any of their own land. They're gifted it, and certain parts were sort of collected together, and they have huge groups of people living and working on the land itself. One of the hallmarks of socialism and communism is that when they say everyone is equal, they are being very literal. Everyone, including women, are going to have an active role to play on communes. Every moment that they go forward with this great leap forward, trying and to get to this classless society, so on and so forth, it proves very difficult. Again, it is not an easy transition, and it's something that is not a success right away, but instead of readjusting, they just lean heavier into it. Again, very similar to Stalin and the Soviets. The common phrase that is, I guess, propagandized for this moment is hard work for a few years, happiness for 1,000. That if the people of China just fully committed to this revolution, to this change, they could have to suffer now, but they'll be able to see their country successful in the future. Yeah, the commune, the Great Leap Forward, was a huge disaster. Nearly 15 million people died while Mao Zedong and the communists clung to this plan or this approach. It was a really rough time and rough transition for the people of China. And with that said, and done. That's it for notes for today. What you guys have got to do this week, this last week of Unit 4, is you're going to be working on your source activity. It's going to be just like last time. Instead of a separate document on Classroom, it's the Google form. You'll see the link is there for you to access and to get working on. Again, be careful. The technology with forms sometimes can be kind of funky. My suggestion is that if you are worried about losing work, is that you actually write up and keep track of your stuff on a separate Google Doc that you can copy and paste into the form, so that if something weird happened and you lost your work, you'd be able to easily go back in and get things figured out. Of course, the other item that you already have half done, or you should have half done, is the Unit 4 study aid, which again, I checked last week. It's due by the end of the week, again, as is the Read Like a Historian. The study aid you have to submit to turn it in if you want me to grade it. And then, of course, I didn't change that. It's not the India test, it's the China test, is on this Friday. And it's online. It's going to be open from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., just like the last one. If you have some technical issue or some kind of problem with that, you need to let me know. I mean, again, it just is something that the more that I'm clued into what's happening, the more likely I can help you. You can use your notes, of course. Your notes should be your study aid, because your study aid is one thing that you have to look at as opposed to a bunch of different things. Don't forget, this is just like any other unit. Missing stuff, get it turned in as soon as possible. If you haven't turned it into turnitin.com, I will not grade it. So please make sure to do so and keep track of all that good stuff. All right, with that said and done, I hope you guys have a good day.